constantly asking my wife's opinion on any big decisions I make. Whether it's a large investment, whether it's deciding on which project to focus my energies on. Or even, for example, this morning, I asked her, should I wear my Scooby-Doo or my Spider-Man underwear? No, I'm totally kidding. It was me who decided on Scooby-Doo. In all seriousness, a woman's intuition is a powerful thing, in my opinion, and that's the topic of my speech. And I'll spoil the secret right now. The secret to my success is my wife's intuition. I've always thought this was a powerful thing. And then, when I found out that one of my mentors, Dave Ramsey, follows the same formula, then I was even more sold. So now, I make it practice. Any big decisions I make, I do consult with my wife. And I'm talking about business decisions. Now, make no mistake, it is my business. It is not her business. However, her decisions go into a lot of my decisions. And I'm taking responsibility, good or bad. And I do find that usually when I follow her advice, that good things happen. And I'm going to give you a couple of different examples of how I've used her opinions and her intuition in my business so far. The first is with hiring new people. We have a pretty extensive interview process, as I've shared before in some of my other talks. And those interviews include several meetings before the candidate's even considered. There is one interview that's purely based on the interviewee's strengths. There's another one based on whether there's obstacles that either one of us can foresee. There's one just based on the overall job and the description and what it entails. And then towards the end of the interview process, once I think it might be a good fit, I got to have the final litmus test, and that's introducing them to my wife. So we call it the spousal interview. And it could be as informal as grabbing a cup of coffee. It could be going out to, most recently we went out to a nice dinner. Depends on the situation. And many times their spouse, if they have one, also comes along, so we get to connect, undivided attention. And you never know, you find out sometimes everything seems cool along the first 4 or 5 interviews, and then you realize they're totally nuts when you sit down with your wife. So other times it's more subtle. There's little red flags that maybe she picks up on that I didn't, because I was caught up in my own excitement of bringing this person on board. So that's just one example. And the other cool example I wanted to share was a real recent situation. We're at a point now in the business where we've been open for a little over 3 years, and things are going well, but in all honesty, this was not our best year. 2011 was actually much better than 2012 was much better than 2013, partly because of Hurricane Sandy. Many of our clients were displaced and some other business decisions we had to make. So you might think this is not a good time to expand, because we have plenty of room to grow where we are. On paper, it doesn't really look like the best idea. However, one day, my wife and I were driving around, not looking at all to open up a second location. That was not what was on our minds, or on my mind. Sure enough, we were looking at different places for another reason, which is a whole nother story, but we ended up pulling up to this place. It was the first place we pulled up to, and it was a perfect place if we were looking for a location. It was in beautiful Babylon Village, which is a really nice area for those of you that know. It is right next to a physical therapist, which is ideal for a personal trainer. She fixes them, and then we can help them continue. As long as it's not going the other way, then we're good. It's also just a high traffic, a lot of foot traffic in the area. The physical space was perfect dimensions. There's an outdoor patio area that's just beautiful, perfect for the kind of training that we do, which is small group personal training. So that was my opinion, but I know it's crazy. I know that we don't have a ton of capital right now, and it might not be the best time to make a move like this. But sure enough, I was pretty surprised, especially surprised because there have been other opportunities that to me seemed more low risk and more in line with my wife's views that she didn't think was a good idea. But this, she thought it was a good idea, or at least worth checking out and looking into. So with that said, I was pumped up because I'm really like a push forward kind of guy, and once I saw that, I was ready to go. So sure enough, it's turned out to be a great decision so far. We're rolling along. We're ready to open up in January. So it is a super exciting time for us, and we believe it is the right decision. And part of that is based on on the gut reaction of my wife and her intuition. So those are just two examples I wanted to share on how this has played out in my life and in my business. And I'm going to finish up with a story. One day, President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle found themselves in Chicago, Illinois. The president had a speaking engagement, and after the speaking engagement, they're back at their hotel. They decide to go grab some lunch. They want to go to a nice restaurant. So they call a car service. Car service picks them up to bring them over to the restaurant. And the strangest thing happened, especially from Barack's perspective. As soon as the car arrived, the limo driver and Michelle completely hitting it off. They are having the most jovial time from the car, from the hotel, to the restaurant. And Barack's totally confused. He doesn't know this guy. And he's known his wife for a pretty long time, and he's with her every day. And he's just confused. He's not sure what's going on. So he keeps quiet. They get to the restaurant, and he says, listen, he says, look, I have to ask you, Michelle. It seems like you knew that guy your whole life. How did you know that guy, and how did you know so much about him? She said, oh, he's an old boyfriend. She said, I dated him way back before we even met. So he says, really? He gets this sort of arrogant little laugh to him, little smile, and he says, so let me get this straight. You're telling me that if things would have worked out with him, right now you would be the wife of a limo driver instead of the wife of the President of the United States of America? She looks back at him and she says, no, you got it all wrong. If I married him, he'd be president. You can never underestimate a woman's intuition. Thank you very much.